Chapter 1. Woodstock. Working at a pizza restaurant delivering pizza is an excellent thing for a high school kid like me to do. Driving around town getting paid is cool. I'm in the 10th grade, and this is how I make my spending money. The year is 1983, and I'm 15 years old, enjoying my first real job. It enables me to memorize the streets so I can deliver pizzas fast to the customers. Several of my buddies work at Mr. Gravit's Pizza, and they talked to the manager about giving me a job. Randy, my friend from school, mentioned that they were hiring at the restaurant, so I applied and the boss gave me the job. Mark, Barry, and Rod are my other friends who work here. Randy got them the job as well. Drivers get paid $3.35 an hour, which is the minimum wage, plus 50 cents per delivery. The more deliveries, the more money the drivers take home at the end of the night. The trick is getting several pizzas moving to the same area of town. Barry is a master at this. I drive a 76 Mercury hand-me-down that Kenny helped me buy from a neighbor. Kenny is the man who has raised me. I consider him to be my father. I spend nights driving the city streets, trying to deliver as many pizzas as possible. Some nights when I cash out, I have $80 or more. Most of us drivers arrive to work at 4 p.m. and get off around 2 a.m. on the weekends. After work, we often sit around drinking and playing the video game Galaga until the sun comes up. I go home, sleep, and do it all over again. Trenton, my supervisor, is in his mid-20s, but that seems old to us. Kenny applied for a work permit for me, and they granted it. The state also allowed a hardship driver's license for me to drive during working hours. Darla, Kenny's daughter, is 18 and she works at a fashion boutique. It's doubtful Darla will ever get out of Werchet. She's what people around Werchet refer to as white trash. But actually she's a wonderful person, just a bit misunderstood. Monday mornings are tough because I don't get off until 11 on Sunday night and then go to school the next morning. I often doze through Mrs. Brown's first period record-keeping class. The teacher likes me and I like her, but she rides my ass. She even went to Kenny's work once, telling him how I'm throwing my talent away because I don't apply myself. I'm not super intelligent or anything, but bright enough to recognize what I have to do to pass the 10th grade. The only interest I have is just getting by. Kenny was my mother's best friend when they were in kindergarten, until she died in a car crash on my first day of school in the first grade. The principal and the school counselor came into the class to get me that morning. As they walked me to the office, I felt the principal's hand on my shoulder as he walked by my side. I thought I was in trouble for something. I did my best to think of something wrong I had done, but nothing came to mind. I remember hearing the principal's heels clacking on the tile floor as he walked. I liked the sound, and looking down I saw he was wearing brown dress shoes with shiny gold-colored buckles. We reached the office, and my grandparents and Kenny were waiting. My grandparents were sitting in front of the principal's desk. Kenny was standing, looking out of the window. When I walked in, Kenny walked over to me as my grandparents stood up. The principal walked behind his desk, taking a seat in his huge leather chair. Kenny dropped to his knees, making eye contact with me, and he told me the news. Woodstock, after your mother dropped you off for school this morning, she had an accident with another car. She passed away. Do you know what that means? Like my dad? Yes, hun, like your dad. The news devastated me. I cried and screamed as I fell to my knees. The anguish was crippling and suffocating. I lived with my grandparents for the next year until I was 7. Grandpa and Grandma were getting old, so Kenny asked them if I could live with him. I loved Kenny, and I had been around him my whole life, so I wanted to. I went to stay with Kenny and his daughter Darla. Kenny always embraced me. He's a great man. After 2 years, I started referring to Kenny as Pops. Kenny treats me like a son, so calling him Pops makes sense. The man's the only father I've ever known. Kenny's a good provider for Darla and me. I see unhappiness in his eyes, and I wonder if he feels stuck in Werchet. I want to get out of Werchet someday, but I don't hate the town. Darla does. She fucking despises this place. Guitar playing I see as an avenue out, so hopefully I'll never be stuck here. However, if I stay here, I will not necessarily view it as being stuck. Mrs. Brown, my record-keeping teacher, always says that I'm quite the dreamer. Yes, I am, I respond. She thinks the world of me, as I do her. Students see her as hip. Mrs. Brown is always going to Kenny's garage, talking to him. A fling may be in their future. It doesn't bother me any. Pops needs to get his like the rest of us. I pay close attention and realize most people are unhappy. Most search for more in life, regardless of what they have. Some use alcohol and drugs, hoping to fill a hole in themselves. Well, I ain't clear what life does to a person, but based on what I've observed, I ain't sure I want to be an adult.